Hi, I'm Scotty. If you want to learn how to service and repair antique mechanical clocks, then subscribe to my channel. Welcome to Scotty's Clock World. This is a Chinese-made 15-day Polaris clock movement. That's the back of the movement with twin hammers. Down there. The first thing we're going to do is remove the hammers and that guide block up there, so that when we take the pendulum leader off, this piece here, it'll sit flat on our working block. We'll take that off first. Fine Phillips head screwdriver, number 1. If it comes, tighten it down to make sure we don't lose it. Put it in a bag of parts, put it aside. Now, using our 5mm spanner, we'll loosen this nut off up here. Take that off. Oh, look at the oil on that, it's been over oiled. There tends to be a problem with people playing around with clock movements they don't know anything about. Oil doesn't solve the problem of a clock not working. Flooding it with oil isn't going to help. Clean that little bit off first. We'll get rid of that when it goes through the ultrasonic and before it goes. Look at the oil on that. See the gunk that's coming off that? That's excess oil that people have put on the movement. It's flowed out, run down, and collected dust and become a grinding compound for the wheels. You can probably see how oily that is. Heaps of oil on that wheel. Alright, before we go any further, we'll have to let down the springs because there's sure to be some tension still in them. Now, let down tool number 8 for the winding arbor. 6 is the average size, they tend to be 6s, but this is an 8. So get that stable on the block. Put a little bit of pressure on it to wind the spring up, then pull back the click. And let the wind down tool run round in your hand to let the spring down. Okay, strike side. Turn it around so you can see it. I think the strike side is wound up pretty tightly. Yeah. Okay, once again, number 8 let down tool onto the winding arbor. Turn it slightly and then put your screwdriver into the click and let the lockdown tool spin round in your hand slowly. till all the pressure's gone. Right, that's done. Now that we'll let the pressure out of the mainspring, we can now take the pendulum leader off, this piece here, because the pallets sitting up there that work on the escape wheel that you can see turning there, if there's any pressure on that, that'll dramatically rush away and quite possibly damage some of your wheels. So we'll take the back cock off. That's this piece here, called the back cock. That's the suspension spring, and that's the pendulum leader. That part under the back there, if I get close enough, that part there is the crutch. Right, so here we go, taking this off, or do we need bigger? Nope, it works okay. First screw out. Second screw out. Now, we can remove the back cock and the pendulum leader. And now the crutch and pallets come out. That's the crutch and pallets there. We'll put that in the going side train. Pendulum leader. And the back cock. We'll put the two screws for the back cock, small container, keep them separate so I don't get them mixed up. We'll put that over there with the back cock. Turn the movement over. We're now ready to start taking the movement apart. First thing we'll do is we'll take the spring off the rack that keeps tension on the rack. Might as well take the rack off while we're here. It's got a circlip on it. A little bit tight. Squeeze it off with this pair of pliers. And then the pliers on the back, get a grip on it. Doesn't want to let go. There it is. It's also a bit bent out of shape, so we'll check that and straighten it before we put it back on again. There's the rack. Now we'll take this circlip off here. It's got him, off he comes. with the oil on that. Now the snail will come off. Take that gear there off. Now we can see what we've got. Right, we'll remove the ratchets now. Back to our Phillips head driver again. Strike side. Put them into the strike side container. That way they go back on the same side. Oh, super greasy. Now the going side. Going side tray. That. And the ratchet. All suitably oily. Right, there's no tension in the springs there. So we'll have a look up here. On that top flirt there. You can see there's a circlip, that one there. We'll push that off. I think there we went. Spin it round. Tweezers. Remove it. There it is. Carefully lift that flirt out. It's got a spring on it. And over there. Got another flirt here, which also has a circlip on it. Circlips are obviously very cheap. Lean on it with the wide blade screwdriver. Both sides, push it out. There he is. And then take the flirt out. The flirt will have to wait to take that out because it's caught behind the lifting cam, that piece there. So once we take the top plate off, we'll be able to maneuver that out without damaging the movement. Now remove the nuts from the pillars so we can remove the top plate. One, two, it's a good idea if you can find them to have a little set of spanners like this that you can use to take these nuts off. A lot simpler to use than one of these variable jaw spanners. Okay, last one. It's gone. Now gently lift the plate off. A bit tight there. Solve that problem. I'll take the circlips off the barrels and see if that makes it a bit easier to take the plates apart. Go inside. Strike side. Right, this will have to come to pieces, a wheel at a time by the look of it. So we'll take them out and put them in our block. That and that. Scope wheel. This wheel. Going side. Second wheel. Or star wheel, and the strike side, first wheel on the strike side, now see how we go. Still caught under that wheel. Slide it sideways. Oh, interesting. Slide it sideways and it all falls apart. Well done, maybe. Well, and those two. All right. Now, I'll have to take the top off that, I think, to get the... Yep. little taper pin in there. It seems to be pretty damn tight too. It's going to have to be moved or removed so we can get the mainsprings out. Let's set down a little bit into a cup. I'll push this clutch down a little bit and see if that'll make a difference. Still caught in there. I might actually have to cut that to get it out, and then we can put a new one in when we're ready to start up. You can see the taper pin there, and this little piece that it's resting on has got a lip, and it's cut and it fits in between those lips, so it's not going to slide out very easily. Nope, I'll have to cut that to remove it. Right. If I can cut that taper pin, they tend to be pretty serious. That is tight. Very, very tight. Right, I've removed that tapered pin now. I had to put pressure on the clutch, this piece here, and push it down so that I can remove it. That now just comes off. Put over there. We now have access to both of the very, very oily mainsprings. That goes into the going side, that goes into the strike side. We'll take them apart later, clean and oil the springs, and then put them back together once the whole lot has been through the ultrasonic cleaner. Before we can put the parts into the ultrasonic cleaner to clean them, we'll have to take the mainspring out of this barrel. Once again, when we look at the back of this barrel, we can see the amount of oil. It covers every part of this clock. It's been seriously, look at the grease, the oil in there, center of the winding arbor. Okay, first thing we do, we turn the wheel like so to release those lugs, and then just turn it and lift it off like so off the winding arbor. God, look at the oil on that. Terrible. Whoop. Before they go into the ultrasonic, I'll wipe all those down to remove the oil and give the ultrasonic cleaner a reasonable chance of cleaning the mess up. So we'll clean all those before they go in. Right now we're going to put the mainspring into the spring winder. We'll put a clamp on it. we'll find a clamp that'll fit the correct size. That one, I think the next one, nope, that's the one we want. That one's going to be too big. Oh, I tell you what, no, that's actually the size. It looks like it's too big, but it's not. So we'll put the barrel into the spring winder in a moment. We'll wind it up, put this sleeve on it, slide it down into the barrel so that it contains the spring. Then we can remove the spring out of the barrel, take the winding arbor out, this piece here, put it back onto the spring winder and undo it. Take the sleeve off and then the spring wind. Then we'll clean it, get rid of this oil that you can see all the way around up here. Clean it with kerosene, then we'll grease it, put it in a bag, mark it so that we know it's a strike side mainspring. We'll do the same for the going side spring, mainspring, and then we can put the brass parts into the ultrasonic cleaner to clean them. So let's get that started. We're ready to remove the mainspring from the barrel. So we'll put the winding arbor, that square block there, into the chuck. We'll put our sleeve that we've selected to be the correct size on there. Tighten that down. Then put a leather glove on. Reverse the flow of the spring winder. And get a grip on the barrel, having looked to see where the lug is. It's there. And that's where the sleeve is going to go, around there. So we'll hold that tight with our gloved hand and wind up the spring as tight as it'll go. Then we put the sleeve a little bit more. Better. We put the sleeve into the barrel. It's a tight one. And then reverse the flow. Let the spring unwind into the sleeve. Take that out, and there we have it. The spring, the mainspring, is contained within the sleeve there. Now we'll spin the sleeve round. You can see I have a small piece of spring, not really enough. It should really be about another quarter of an inch, half an inch longer to get a catch on there easily, but I think we'll be able to do it with this knot here. So we'll put the winding arbor back into the spring winder. We'll put that We'll bring that in to there. Keep that tight. So what we'll do now, we're going to hold our sleeve until we can remove it. Reverse the flow of the winder. Put the glove across the top of the spring just in case it lets go. And let it wind right down. And there it is, there's our spring. Whoop, take the sleeve off. What we're going to do now is we're going to clean the spring with kerosene. We'll get all that oil off it. Then we'll grease it, we'll put it in the bag, put it aside, and hopefully by then our ultrasonic cleaner will be up to 30 odd degrees and we'll be able to put all the parts in. Blue kerosene is what we're going to use to clean the oil off this spring. We're going to put some on this little bit of scour pad here, soak a little Kero into it. Not too much, it'll make a mess if it goes everywhere. So there's our scour pad. Take the spring, wrap the pad round both sides of the spring and rub up the spring. Let it just spin round in the spring winder. And we're getting rid of all the oil and contaminants on that spring. Now taking a clean bit of cloth, we'll wipe down, remove the kerosene. And the grease and the oil and everything else on it. That's the muck we've got off it. Now before we grease, we will once again take a clean piece of our cloth, wipe it backwards to remove the kerosene, any kerosene that's still on it. This is the grease we're going to use to grease the spring. First I'll take the spring off the spring winder. Right, that's better. Now, take the winding arbor out. We don't need that. Now, finding our toothpick, which is there, we put some grease on it, and then we run round, putting grease on each of the loops of the spring, Doesn't matter if you put too much on, because once the spring is compressed, the excess will push out, and we'll wipe it off before it goes back into its barrel. Just continue all the way around. You only need to put grease on one side of the spring, because once it's compressed, both sides will be covered in the grease. Come up and down there. Across the top. Right. Put the winding arbor back into the spring winder. Reverse the flow. Put the hook in to the end of the mainspring. Tie that down so it can't get away on us. And then wind up. Spring is slipping on the winding arbor. So we'll have to tighten the inner loop on the spring. Slide the spring off. So what we're going to do, that inner loop there, we're going to tighten that up using this pair of pliers. Slide it down into the loop. Then holding the spring firmly, turn the pliers to tighten that inner loop. Okay, we'll now wind the string up, compress it, then we'll see the excess grease. We'll now wipe off the end of it. You see it running around there, we'll wipe that off on both sides. We'll reverse the spring winder. The glove over the spring as we wind it down. Right. Take the winding arbor out of the spring. And then put the mainspring, now that's cleaned and greased, into a bag. Strike side suitably named so you can't put it back in the wrong barrel. And that's how you clean and grease a mainspring. I'll do the going side off camera Then we'll come back and we'll put all the parts into the ultrasonic. Right, we've taken the movement apart, taken the mainsprings out of the barrels, and as we noted, there's a lot of oil on these parts, so prior to putting them into the ultrasonic cleaner, I'll give them a quick clean up, wipe some of the oil off, and then we'll put them in bundles so we know what is what when they come out of the cleaner. And God, that's thick down the bottom there and over the back. I'll start off with a strike side barrel. Put a piece of wire through that to hold it together. Twist it round. I'll put another small piece on there. So I know when that comes out of the cleaner that is the strike side barrel. Done. Now for the going side barrel, same thing, piece of wire, tie it up, keep them together. Now first up, I'll put in the plates. My ultrasonic cleaner has fluid up to that level there, the second line. So we need to keep the plates below that. If we don't, and if we put them in like that, if we put them in like that, then we'd have a line running across the top there that hadn't been cleaned. Then when we turn it up, put it in the other way, it's been double cleaned and you'll see a line running along it. So that back down there. Now both these wheels were pretty oily. Pop those two together. Those and that. Then wind them off, put them into the ultrasonic tray. We'll put the two barrels in. This piece is called the back cock. As you can see, it's not all brass, that's steel. We can't put steel into the ultrasonic cleaner. So I'll remove the suspension spring, little Phillips head screwdriver, screw, pop him in there. The back cock can now go in. but we'll attach it to something else so it doesn't fall through. I'll actually put it on the going side with this next lot of wheels that I'm putting in now. Okay, going side train. First wheel, second wheel, escape wheel, and I'll put the back cock on it. Twist the wire off, a bit long. I'll cut a couple of pieces off there, put it in there. Now the strike side train, turn that up, star wheel, warning wheel, the one with the pin on it, cut the excess off. Here we go, pop it in there. Now the nuts that hold the plates together are steel, so they don't go into the ultrasonic. Everything else has got steel on it, so they won't go in. I'll now put the basket into the ultrasonic cleaner, turn it on, leave it for 5 minutes, then we'll come back and take them out. Parts are now out of the ultrasonic. I'll go and wash them, put them through some Shellite to remove the water, and then come back and we'll look at the clean parts. Then we'll move on to the next step. The parts are returned from our ultrasonic cleaner. They're looking quite good. No oil on the back of them. We wipe that off. Strike side train, looking nice and clean. Right, now we'll open them up, put them back into our block, and then start checking the pivots. Going side train wheels first. Cut the wire. Put the wheels back in the correct position. Escape wheel. Second wheel, that's a back cock. We'll have to put the suspension spring into that later. Strike side barrel. Come up rather nicely over there. Going side barrel. Ultrasonic does a very good job actually. Made a difference though, wiping the oil off the wheels before we put them in. Now, strike side. Warning wheel up there near the fly. First wheel. Then the star wheel. Right, they're all now in the correct position again. So we'll start to put the movement together, one wheel at a time, and check the bushings and the pivots. We don't want that bit of wire on there. The back plate. And the front plate, they come out rather nicely. Gathering pallet. That piece there, the gathering pallet. It lifts the rack. Alright, let's put that back together again and start checking the bushes. All the parts of the movement have now come back out of the ultrasonic cleaner and they all look nice and clean. First wheel on the going side train. Back plate. Right, now we're going to check each wheel, the pivots and the bushes, and see if we need to do any rebushing. We'll start off with the first wheel on the going side train. Cannon arbor in. That's got him. I'll put a nut on that post there to hold it while we check the wheel. As you can see, the wheel spins very freely. We're going to look at that pivot there in the bush, that one that's popping up and down. Move it sideways. No, that's quite tight. Not a problem, it doesn't need to be replaced. Now we'll look at this one. Little bit of movement on there actually. Quickly check the front one again. No, that one's alright. Well, we'll have to redo that one at the back, on the back plate. Take the top plate off. Mark that one with a felt tip pin so we know it has to be rebushed. Now, second wheel, top plate back on again. And align that. Spin him to make sure it's in. Right, let's have a look at this one. Moves nice and freely. Now we're looking at that pivot and that bush there. See what we see in the way of play. No, not a problem there. Turn it over. Looking at that one there. No, quite good. Check it for end play. Heaps of end play in it. Take that out. Put in the escape wheel. Goes there. Top plate back on. The cannon arbor in. Gathering pallet. Now the escape wheel. We're looking at that pivot there. Oh, that's pretty good. Now that pivot there. Pretty good. They don't need to be replaced. Now we'll look for end play. Heaps of it there. Spins very freely. Don't know that this movement has done a lot of work. Right, now we'll put in the strike side wheels one at a time. First wheel. Cannon arbor into there. Gathering pallet. And the first wheel. Turn him round. See what we got. Spins pretty freely. Now we're looking at that pivot there. Right, that looks alright. And that pivot there. No movement in that one. Check the front one again. Marginal. Right, we'll do both those. Take the plate off. Mark them straight away so we know which ones we have to rebush. That one. That one. Now the star wheel. That piece there. Goes there. Top plate on again. Cannon arbor, gathering pallet, and the star wheel. Okay, now let's check it. That pivot there, marginal. Now that pivot there, yep, that one's a bit loose. We'll have to redo both of those. Only just, but they still require to be done. We want that one. And that one. Now the warning wheel goes there. That has to go underneath it. So we'll have to take that out. That there. And then install the warning wheel. Cannon arbor, gathering pallet, that moves down a little bit. Down to there. Right, that's got it. Now we're looking at that pivot there. No, that's all right. That one there. No, that's quite all right. And heaps of end play. Take that off. The fly goes there. Top plate once again. Cannon arbor. Spin round. Gathering pallets done. We'll put the fly in. Push the top plate up a tiny bit with my finger. In it goes. Right, now, looking at that pivot there. No, that looks all right. We're looking at that one there. I'll get a closer look. No, that looks okay. Right, we'll now check the fly for end play. You can see there's heaps there. It's not going to get caught on anything. So top plate off. The fly comes out. And we'll have a look and see. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that one down there 5. Right, we've got 5 rebushings to do. I made a new taper pin. You can just see it there. That sits inside that piece there and goes over the clutch, which is that piece there. And tightens down and holds this wheel and stops it spinning. So we'll put those pieces on. First up, see where our hole is, round there. This is going to be fun doing this. And put that piece on. Then I need to depress the clutch sufficiently that I can see where that hole is, so I can feed this tapered pin in. And I think that's going to be fun. Alright, let's give it a try. Push that down. I might have to put a pair of pliers on that. There you can see the new taper pin I've made to fit. That'll hold that clutch in place. I've done all the required bushing on the plates. I think there was 5 or 6 bushes we had to replace. Then we put all the wheels in and check to make sure they're all moving freely. And checking end plate that we can see there easily. The going side, most of it. This is the strike side we can see turning now. So we'll now start to put the rest of the movement back together. We'll start off with putting the first wheel in, the going side train. Goes in here. See if we can lift that plate up sufficient to get that pivot in. I'll loosen the nuts and the pillars down the other end. Now see if we can lift the plate high enough to install that wheel. There's still a fair bit off. Might have to take those nuts off. Being careful not to drop all the other pivots out while we're doing this. That up a little bit. There we go. He's in. Put the nuts back on those pillars. Tighten them down a second. We'll put them on first. Tighten them down. First wheel spins nice and freely. Right, now we'll put the mainsprings in. Start off with the strike side. Which goes in there. Slide it in between the plates. I'll loosen them off a tiny bit, I think. Yep, I'll have to, all right. Actually, that's the slot I was looking for on the winding arbor, but it was too deep inside there, so we can slot it on. Right, I'll take those out. It's very tight. I don't know why that doesn't. There we go. That's got him. Right, so we'll put the top plate back on again and get back to where we were. Star wheel out of the road. Take the star wheel out for a minute, we'll put that in, and the fly, make it easier to get the rest done. There and there. Escape wheel. That up. Second wheel. Right, put a couple of nuts on these pillars. Hold it together a little bit. Now we'll put the star wheel in. If we don't get it in there, might be a more efficient way of doing it. No, it's dropped out. Just about, but not quite. And just caught on that pillar there. That's better. There's there. And there. I will. Escape wheel. Second wheel's in. Right, now the warning wheel. Goes there. And up a little bit. Put everything back in again. All the wheels have dropped out. It's got that right. Second wheel's dropped out. That's right. Cannon Harbour's right. Pivot goes in there. Now we put the fly in. It goes there. We'll put a nut on that to hold it. Not too tight, just enough to hold it in place while we go through and check the other pivots. We don't want to snap any off. Going side, strike side. Tighten that down. Put a nut on this post. Tighten that down a bit. Not completely, we want it just to hold it. That one. That one. Now, before we go any further, we'll check to make sure that everything is still spinning freely and no pivots hung up anywhere. Right. And the first wheel. So we'll tighten the nuts down. Now we'll have another attempt at putting the mainsprings in. Now that we'll push the winding arbor up a bit, we should slot in here easily. What is? Line that up with the hole. Down it goes. Okay, first one's in. Going side. Make sure we got our groove there we were looking for. Clunk. Up a bit higher. That, and then push it down. There we go. That's all meshed in properly. Right. Now we'll put the clicks on. Strike side first. I think we need our little Phillips head for this, do we? The other one's marginally... Nope, that fits. Okay, we got him. Turn it round. Bring the click back. Drop the ratchet on. The piece over the top there. And screw it down. Okay. The strike side's done. Now we'll do the going side train. Pull the click back first. Put the ratchet on. Make sure it's on the right way by turning it and seeing the click catches in to the groove there. Whoop, put this piece on to hold it in place. Tweezers to hold the screw. Phillips head screwdriver. Whoop, we've moved over. It's actually there. Check to make sure they're tight. Okay. Done. Now we'll start putting, that's right, we'll start putting the back pieces on. The verge for the pallets. That sit on top of the escape wheel. Couple of screws for there. One, two. Now we'll align the bush on there with the pivot on the verge, and there we have it. Now a screw in to hold that down. Just roughly initially. We'll set that up correctly later on. Here we go. Everything's moving nice and smoothly. So now we'll put the rest of the parts on. Starting with this flirt, which goes here. And we'll have to move the gathering pallet around a little bit so that it can slot in under it. Now we need a circlip to go on there to hold it in place. Push it in there. That's got him. Right, now the next flirt goes up in there. Oop, too high. Come down to there. That's got him. We can't put the spring on for a moment, but we're getting closer. Pop that wheel on there and put a circlip on it to hold it in place. Leave that for a sec. Snail on. Goes there. Now another circlip. Obviously not that one, it's too big. This little guy. That looks more like it. Now we'll clip that in. Got him. Oh, we better put the circlip on this flirt up there. Be one of those, I would think. We'll go there. Yep, that's got him. Now the rack. Goes there. Now the spring from this flirt can be attached to there. That's got him. Right, let's see what we got. Should be working all right. Now I'll drop this down, see what we've got. on the snail. That tip there is 1 o'clock, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way round. That's sitting on 11 o'clock there, where it is at the moment. And that's 12 o'clock right in the base. That's on 11. So I'll lift that up, put that on there, and put a bit of tension on the springs. We'll set up the crutch and the pallets on the verge, and then we'll start to look at how the clock is moving. Get that set up properly. Right. Wind up the springs. What did we have? 8 or something, I think it was. Yep. Main spring is slipping, so I'll have to undo that. Now we have a circlip. Whoop. Little guy there. Put on the rack to hold that on. That is too big. I'll have to change that. Have a look at our circlip box and see what we've got to fit on there. Whoop. That'll sit down a tiny bit. Rather tight, that might be just a tiny bit too small. We'll try it and see. Sit down a bit flatter. See how that goes. Nope, that's a bit small. See what the next sized up looks like. I think that's going to be too big. Nope, that might actually be the right size. Try that and see. Yep, that's got him. Okay. You can see the escape wheel spinning madly there. So we need to set that up now. Loosen off these 2 screws here on the back. Lower that a tiny bit. Still jumping. Little bit more. That looks better. Tighten that down. Let's see how we go. Turning one tooth at a time. All right. Now we need to see it's working all right. Now we'll have to put the movement, actually before we put the movement on a test stand, we'll oil it. Put our oil sink there. Now we'll start with 2 drops each on the back of the winding arbor. There, 1 on the first wheel. Actually 2 I'll put there on the first wheel. And there. That one. One up here on the fly, right up at the top. The top of the crutch there. We'll put 2 on that flirt because it's getting down a little bit. And 1 there. And 1 on the hammer lever. Right, I think that's all that for the back. We'll do the verge in a moment. We'll oil the front first. There. Escape wheel. The verge. Fly. Warning wheel. And down in there for the second wheel. A couple for each of the winding arbors. Right, we'll remove that. Got a drop on the leading edge of the pallet, just there. One on the trailing edge, buried way back deep inside there. Missed with that one. That one's got him. The back of this flirt, in behind the circlip. Same again here. Been done at the back. Right, it's all been done. I'll clean that up. Put that away. That tiny little Right, now we'll get that up on there, and we'll get the minute hand. Put that on. Whoop. And I'll put the knurled nut on the top of it to hold it on there. We can start to check and see how the movement is running. Wind that round. That said 1 o'clock. So I'll set the minute hand in the correct position. O'clock. Tighten the knurl nut down. We'll wind it round again. That looked like 9 o'clock. Right, we'll move the minute hand again, wind it round. Half past the hour. This should now be 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Warning wheel has been arrested by that lever there on the end of the flirt. And if I put my finger on the fly so it can't turn, then lift this up, you will see, once I take the minute hand off, that piece there is sitting at 12 o'clock. That's why it struck 12 before. I'll put the hand back on again. Knurl nut, tighten it down. With a wind. Wind it up. One o'clock. Wind it down, gone into warning. Half hour. Should be 2 o'clock. There we go, 2 o'clock. We're counting the number of times that the gathering pallet lifts up the rack. So keep a close eye on that. We'll wind it again. Down to the half hour. 1. Gone into warning, you notice that. This will now be 3 o'clock. 1, 2, 3 o'clock. Well, I'll put the pendulum leader and the pendulum bob back on. I haven't made a large 2x1 pine frame to use as a test stand, so I'll have to put the movement back into the clock, but I will do that, and then I'll be able to adjust the time, make sure it's time is running correctly, and then the clock will be up and running.